What's up, guys? It's Brent. I have my phone interview later this morning. Fingers crossed for a good one. But I thought now would be a good time to go over my application and web-based interview for all of you who are wondering maybe what it was like for me. So in my application, I included a resume and cover letter, even though I didn't need to. I thought it would be like a nice little extra thing to add in there, see if they read it. But actually, I have my application here. Print that out. So basically, first it went through your self-identity, if you've worked for the company before, what you are, how'd you hear about this position, why do you want to work for this company reputation, stuff like that. And then it goes into your interests, and then it where would you like to be considered for the program in Orlando, Florida, and then it goes through when do you want to arrive. I said Fall Advantage, and then do you want to be considered for a second option as well. I said yes, I want to be also considered for Fall, and then you put dates in which you are the earliest you can arrive and the latest you can leave. And then you go into what roles you would like to be considered for. So I had every time they have high demand roles that they ask for your interest in altogether. So those four roles this time were custodial, house person, lifeguard, and quick service food and beverage. I personally put low interest on custodial, no interest on house person or lifeguard, and moderate interest in quick service food and beverage. And then you get into the roles that you could choose for your interests. I chose attractions, bell service dispatch greeter, character attendant, character performer, convention guide, merchandise, monorail, photopass photographer, cedar, and watercraft. After that, you go through and you rate your roles on high interest, moderate interest, low interest for your ones you have interest in. And so I put attractions as high interest, bell services moderate interest, character attendant as high interest, character performer high interest, convention guide moderate interest, merchandise high interest, monorail moderate, photopass high, cedar moderate, and watercraft moderate. And then you have to agree that you understand what the roles comply of and what they expect you to do with those roles. And you have to say, yes, I do understand, and I've read through the role descriptions, and I can perform all of these tasks. Then it goes into the Disneyland program, and it says, do you have interest in applying for the Disneyland program as well? Because it's all part of one submission. I said no because I just can't go out to California right now. I live in Florida, so I thought it'd be a little bit easier. So the next part would be just answering additional questions and job-specific work authorization questions. Like, are you legally allowed to work in the States? Are you fully available? And then it lists questions about your major, what area of study is your major, and then are you okay with getting the pay rate that they offer, and then which program is your primary interest. And then they also ask you if you've ever lived independently. They ask you if you speak more than one language to please say what it is. I only speak English, so I didn't have any other language. But after that, you have a long thing you have to read that says all this information is true. I can be held accountable for all my answers here, and I am not lying on any of this. And then after that, you have one big final review of your application, and then you send it. After that, it was about 20 to 30 minutes later, I got the email saying, we invite you to take your web-based interview. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was like 20 minutes. So I was like, okay. I sat down and I was like, okay, going to take the web-based interview. So with my web-based interview, there was 4 sections. The first section took me about 18 minutes. That section was, they gave you a scenario and 4 solutions that you could pick from, and you had to choose the one that you think was most important. The second one was were given some statements, and you had to say whether you strongly agreed with these statements or strongly disagreed with these statements, or anywhere in between. The third section was how does the statement describe you, and you had to say strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, neutral. And then the fourth section was describe your excitement level for the following scenarios. And you had to put most excited, not excited at all, neutral. And so in the first section, you get about 20 seconds to answer each prompt. Don't worry if you don't get them all. I myself missed like 2 or 3 of them, and I wasn't able to answer them. Make sure you look at it through the perspective of somebody working at Disney and how a Disney cast member would go through and solve these situations. An example of a question that I had in section 1 was, when I look back on my day, I feel like A, I did what I had to do. B, I'm glad the day is over. C, great about what I have accomplished. Or D, like the day was over before I knew it. And I chose C in that instance because I always feel great about the day at the end of C what I've accomplished. Section 2. That was where you have to strongly agree or disagree with the statements provided. I mainly put strongly agree, disagree for almost everything because you're supposed to have a very strong opinion. But I did put neutral on like 3 or 4 of these. So don't worry if you're like, oh, I don't know if I agree or if I disagree. Just put neutral. I still made it all the way through with putting a couple neutrals. An example of a question in there would be, it's easy for me to leave a task incomplete. And I said strongly disagree because I don't feel like a task should be left incomplete at the end of a workday. And then we move on to section 3. That is where you have to say how well a statement describes you. Like at one end, it says describes me well. On the other end, it says doesn't describe me at all. So it's like the strongly agree, strongly disagree. You have that spectrum that you can choose from. So an example of a question like that would be, I'm a good friend. I said describes me well. That section's pretty much personal. I just be honest, I guess. There's no really other good advice I could give you for that. And then the last section is telling them how excited you are for different experiences you may encounter. So it has a spectrum of most excited to not excited at all. And an example question of this is being in a completely new and different environment. And I said, I am most excited for. So that was the web-based interview. Each section took me a different amount of time. The first section took me 18 minutes. The second section took me 11 minutes. The third section took me 2 minutes. And the last section took me 1.5 minutes. So roughly around 33 minutes for the whole thing. So, yeah, that was my web-based interview. And now, waiting for a little bit longer before my phone interview I have made. I suggest you make this too. Cards for different positions. Like I have my questions for at the end. I have roommate conflict. I know that's popular. All my different jobs I've had before. Some experiences I've had that have not necessarily been a job. Some questions I found on the internet. And the different roles I'm interested in. Now I didn't put all of them. All my high interest ones I wrote down. but I have in mind the ones I've had a moderate interest for. So, see you on the flip side when it's done.